There are a lot of common narratives amongst producers that I personally disagree with, not just disagree with, that I don't really like. Now, there's a wide array of opinions, but the opinions that are going to be expressed in this video have something in common. They're typically expressed by old niggas. Now, this is the thing before we continue. I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm considered an old nigga myself. But if you look at hip hop, the thing about hip hop is a lot of old niggas be hating. That's just what it is. And it's been that way forever. I would say my generation is the first generation in hip hop to have a severe decrease in haters. If you watch this video that I dropped, it's a very good video. You should watch it after this one. But I talk about hating when it comes to type beats and also Fruity Loops. Now, the thing about some of these opinions, I don't want to write them off as just hate. They're typically rooted, from my knowledge, in one of two things. And this could change throughout the video depending on the opinions that I'm expressing. But either scarcity or purity. You could also throw the fear of competition in there to some degree in some cases. But we're going to discuss some of these. But we're going to talk about rap first because I understand hip hop very well. And also I used to rap. So there are certain things that I've experienced and that I know. So we're going to discuss that so you can get a scope of how this hip hop shit works outside of a producer perspective. So the first thing that we have to acknowledge is that hip hop is rooted in competition. It's not like any other genre of music. The foundation of hip hop is block parties with MCs and DJs battling. Whole crews with rappers, dancers, DJs, graffiti artists, et cetera, et cetera. We talking about the super early foundation. So that foundation was built upon, and to this day, we have some of the most competitive things in music that doesn't exist in other genres, like diss tracks. And you look at something like the Versus, Swiss Beats and Timberland platform, you have competition in the music and the culture, which is something most of us love, and it's definitely just deeply embedded in the culture. It just is what it is. Now, if you look at the history of hip hop, you know, that's New York culture, and that's how they got down in NYC. So you couldn't be a rapper in NYC in the early 90s and also in the 80s and even 79. You couldn't be a rapper and not be capable of battling because an MC was going to challenge you. It was that competitive. So that is very rooted in NYC. But this is the thing. When other regions like the Midwest, the South, and the West Coast were introduced to rap, they were introduced to it strictly through the music. So what's happening in all around America is people are just getting into creating the music and stuff like that. They are not having all the crazy battles, you know, and the battles are getting broadcasted on records like The Bridge is Over by KRS-One. It's not going like that in other regions. They are making the music to party to. They are making the music to live to. They are making the music to show, you know, the lifestyle of what's going on in the area or the gangster stuff or the pimping, whatever the case may be. So without dragging it, when you get to the 2010s and you look around and you like, oh man, see, the South done took over and, you know, New York is trying to sound like the South, and you see how unified the South is? Barely any of them have beef, even though some of them do be having beef. You know, all of them be doing records together, like Future doing records with Gucci, Gucci doing records with Young Thug, and Metro Boomin is working with Zaytoven working with Sunny Digital. They all working together. They not trying to battle each other or nothing. And when it come down to any disses, they real street disses. These people got real beef. They not just dissing each other because they trying to see who the better rapper is. They not doing that down there. That's because, again, that is not rooted in how their regions got hip hop. Now, today you have all types of battle rappers from the West Coast, the Midwest, the South. And I guarantee you on some street stuff, there were battle rappers from those regions in every era. But the thing is, it wasn't as big as it was in the NYC or the East Coast, like Philly, New Jersey, et cetera, et cetera. So when you understand that foundation and you put 90s hip hop under a microscope, you could see a lot of unwarranted disses, a lot of sneak disses, a lot of subliminals, a lot of direct disses that were just happening for no reason. Like one good example is Biggie saying you niggas is played out like Kwame and them fucking polka dots. Kwame was a rapper. He wasn't even a street rapper. And Biggie just used him as a punchline and ruined his career while ruining a fashion trend at the same time. And if you look at that era, just the 90s and the early to mid 2000s, 90% of the beef that was happening, New York was involved. Because New York was not only running hip hop, but most of the beefs that they had were in the same region or even, guess what, in the same city. In the same city. Think Mobb Deep versus Jay-Z, et cetera, et cetera. And the funny thing about this, even if you look at the East Coast, West Coast beef, right? That didn't start because of no hating or somebody thinking that somebody was better. No, Pac thought he got set up. He thought he got set up and got shot because somebody wanted him killed in NYC. That's what he thought. So that was real street beef. That wasn't like rap beef like, oh man, I could rap better than this dude or his music. It wasn't none of that. So I'm taking you down a rabbit hole, but let's get to it, man. When we look at the Smack DVD era, there is a video of Prodigy sitting in the car naming a bunch of rappers that suck for no reason. For no reason. Just dropping names on rappers that he thinks sucks. And most of them are from NYC. If you didn't know, Metro Boomin and Future used that as far as that audio all through skits on one of their tapes that they dropped last year. So that's one specific example of hating to some degree, but it was still coming from a competitive place because while he was saying that, he was pretty much bragging and boasting about how him and Mobb Deep, him and Havoc and G Unit was the best in the game. That's what he was bragging about, and the realest. So you got some of that. You then have, this is like just flagrant foul hating, and I love all of these dudes involved. But you got Ghostface getting on stage from the Wu-Tang Clan and having him play Laffy Taffy by D4L and say, what is this bullshit? Cut this shit off. Just hating on him like, get this shit out of here. Da, 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 da. And D4L and Shorty Low responded with humility. They didn't even entertain a beef or say anything spicy back about Ghostface because they are in the game trying to make party music, drug dealer music, and get money. They not in the game to have no rap beef. They really trying to get out the hood. And that's the difference between New York and fucking, the South. In New York, the record labels is down the street. Like in the South, if you know how Outkast got on, man, they had to do so much moving and grooving and shaking to try and get in the game, man. To try and get in the game, man. They had to do way more than a popular drug dealer that just so happened to rap in any of the 5 boroughs. But when we go on to the other examples of hating, the whole gatekeeping on what's hip hop and what's not hip hop. There was a long time where East Coast rappers are talking about Southern music like that's not hip hop. That's not hip hop. Even KRS-One, when the South finally really got like a whole grip on everything to where it's like, okay, they not only here to stay, but they're running hip hop. I remember on a DVD, they were asking KRS-One what was hip hop and stuff like that. And he said 50 Cent, like Candy Shop was hip hop. He said T.I., was hip hop, where you can have whatever you like or whatever. But then he said The Graduation by Kanye and Flashing Lights was not hip hop. And trust me, the explanation is bullshit, but you could have whatever you like being more hip hop than Flashing Lights is insane to me. And if he didn't say you could have whatever you like, you could have whatever you like was definitely out at the time that this dropped, whenever he said this. But that was just gatekeeping. And the last 2 examples I'm going to give you, one extends through the whole 90s and it's called commercial rap. And listen, when I first got into hip hop, I bought into this narrative that if anything was too successful, popular, it make people shake their booty, it make people enjoy themselves too much, and it's too popular and it's a hit on the charts. Like, it's commercial rap, and commercial rap was bad. If you were a commercial rapper, you were a sellout. So people like Nelly, you could say Ja Rule to some extent, MC Hammer, et cetera, et cetera. Those people were considered commercial rappers. We'll throw Fabulous in there because remember, I bought into this narrative, right? Fabulous and Cameron were the two people who really broke that. I was like, bro, what is this commercial rap anti, success music bullshit? Because these motherfuckers is making fly shit. They making this shit to give me energy. Like, why is we against this shit? Why, like, this don't even make sense if the music is good. So that was just some hater shit. That's all it was. It was just some hater shit. But this is the last narrative. Mumble rap. Listen, I keep it so real. When you look at somebody like Young Thug and you go and listen to Foreign, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, man. You cannot understand what the fuck he is saying on that hook. And that is the only bail I'm gonna give you, because when I listen to Gucci Mane, when I listen to Future, when I listen to all these things, I understand every word. Hood Rich, Pablo Juan, fucking Travis Port, fucking any of these niggas that they consider mumble rappers, right? They're not fucking mumbling. They're not fucking mumbling, and you can understand every word. But all it is just a new way to hate on the fucking youth. That was the latest way that I can think of that rappers and hip hop in general was hating on the youth. So when you look at all of those things that I mentioned, they come from the three things that I mentioned. Fear, competition, scarcity, or purity. And this is the thing. I want you to notice this. I went all the way back to the 90s, right? This was happening from young people in the 90s, especially the East Coast, right? Especially the East Coast, especially NYC. Those niggas are old, and they have passed down some of their hating ways to, different generations and stuff like that. But when we get to right now, or just even in the past 20 years, old niggas is where a lot of this shit comes from. Old niggas do the most unnecessary hating. So I'm going to go over all the narratives, or just a good chunk of narratives when it comes to production that I don't really like or fuck with. Now, before we get into this, I want y'all to understand, anybody watching this, that I have been doing this shit and I have been online for 20 years, bro. I have been online, 25. I've been online longer than niggas have been producing, longer than niggas have been making content. So I have seen the takes that I'm about to give from so many people over the years. Do not, if you disagree, that is fine. But do not take anything I'm saying personal, because any narrative that I give, anything that I say, has been expressed by tons of people on forums, on content, and etc. over the years. I'm not on here to be messy. I'm not on here to take shots. So do not personalize this. Just understand that this is typically the type of people that these opinions come from. Old niggas. So I'm going to give you a throwback one, and we're going to talk about it. And I don't necessarily think that it's hating, but it's something that I got to discuss just to give you kind of a foundation. But beat leasing is going to ruin the music industry or production and things of that nature. That was a popular narrative, and some people may still think that, but I'm going to be honest with you. To some degree, it has. And remember, I've been here a long time, so let me explain a few things. So boom, we go back to mp3.com. Motherfuckers really don't got the internet. Like, it's everybody don't got the internet, and everybody's not looking on the internet. But people are selling beats, right? You had to sell them through email, all that stuff. You can't just buy them off the site. Boom. We get to SoundClick. People are selling beats, and SoundClick is beginning to blow up, and you had to type in a beat name on a PayPal bar, submit it and stuff like that. Then beat stores were made. Before Airbit, before BeatStars, there was My Flash Store. And there were other stores at the time, but I do want you to know Airbit is my flash store. They changed the name. And that screenshot that you seen was from 2011. So I'm not going to continue to go through the whole cycle. I'm just going to say a few things. So the first thing is it used to be like, $30 or $19 gets you one beat, and that be it. You might get a deal like buy one, get one free, and that be it. Like, it was real. That's what it was. It wasn't too crazy. As years went on, the deals got crazier. There was, I can't even remember. There's been people selling beats for $1, right? There have been people who have sold, a pack of 100 beats for $20, things like that. There are people probably on fucking BeatStars right now who have buy one, get 5, 10, 15 free type shit. All at the entry price of $20 to $30. $20 to $30. So you have that aspect, right? If we go back to the SoundClick days, when I used to rap, I would do a lot of shows, right? And when I'm doing shows, there was a tag. I'm going to just say it was one of the team hits tags. That's Vibe, Superstar. And I used to hear the tag all the time when I was doing shows, as far as some of their tags. So the free download method was going around that time. That's like 2010, 11, 12. So when we talk about free downloads, so the pricing is one thing. Free downloads is another. Tags were on the beats. And bruh, I was making beats and uploading beats before like SoundClick started going crazy. So people used to have the craziest tags. It used to be like, so you really gonna steal this beat? Boy, you better put this beat back on. You better delete this. You better not try and rap on it. And the beat be playing in the background and they be having whole sentences, bruh. They be saying whole dialogues. So that's how the tags used to be. But when they, as far as Team Hits and some of the other people started doing the tags were just, their actual producer tag. And that was it. And the thing about it, you would think that that would deter a rapper from rapping on it, especially if it's playing like every 8 bars, like you can't escape it. But dudes, I'm telling you, because I was doing these shows, bro, dudes did not care. They did not care. They was like, we could get the beat for free, so it is what it is. We gonna rap on it. So boom, accessibility comes. We then get to the YouTube era to where Cass is really like advertising, like not free download, but just free. It just says free. And you get the beat for free. And it's like, you listen to it on YouTube. It got, in some cases, just one tag. And then in some cases, like how I mentioned the, tags back on SoundClick and stuff, these tags, when we get to the YouTube era, they just be so subtle and they just fit in so well that you don't even hear them. Like, you don't even, like, they not even disruptive. They just sound like a piece of instrument in the track. But let me begin to wrap this part up. So we look at those two things that happen. Those two things are pricing. So now we have the most affordable beats of all time. Let me give you some insight. Locally, no matter where you were at, and we talking the 2000s through like before the SoundClick era. So just the 2000s, we'll say the 2000s, and even the 90s is way worse. But the barrier to entry to make beats was very high. Once the computers came out and we could do Fruity Loops and stuff like that, the barrier to entry got lower, but it was still high because everybody didn't have computers. Everybody didn't know how to, just keeping it a G, get it for free. Everybody didn't have money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So beats on a local level, a minimum for an exclusive. You look silly if you wasn't selling that joint for 100. For 100. But depending on how the work was, you could sell that joint, and we talking on a local level. You could sell it for anywhere from 200 to 600 as far as a beat. I can't speak on other regions outside of where I live so much, but you could get a beat off for that, and it'd be an exclusive. A dude be happy, and that'd be it. I'll tell you something, man. When we get to them 2010s, boy, in 2010s, that shit was dead. That shit was dead. Niggas is getting exclusive beats because niggas is trying to compete with the online shit. Niggas is just trying to compete locally. All that niggas is selling exclusives for 30s. Listen, I don't knock the hustle, but I know what I came from, and I know the first beat that I sold, how much it was, and I was like, I'm not participating in that. I'm not participating in that. So me personally, I bought into the online shit because I was like, this is where I'm gonna get the bread. I can make so much more off of one beat online than I would make off of selling $30 or $50 beats. I could make so much more online. Now, before I get too sidetracked, let's go back to what I was talking about. The bar was high as far as like, accessibility, like in just access to getting beats because the barrier to entry was high. That barrier to entry is completely gone and the accessibility is so high, it's so through the roof. You remember the beats like the Breeze, Stretch, Shake, Let It Go, and all the like simple beats from the 2000s and stuff that Cat said they was making in 5 minutes? Cats was paying, and this is just a ballpark. They was paying anywhere from 20,000 to 150,000 for like super producers. It's like 150,000. Like some cats will say, "Oh man, I sold a beat for 300,000." Whatever, man. Niggas is gonna tell you hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't see an industry producer in the 2000s making less than 20,000 because these guys who are getting these beats, they're going strictly through industry producers or people who are in the industry for the most part. And they are paying those top tier fees. You now have people like Designer finding a Panda beat online, talking to the producer, paying for the exclusive for like $200 or however much he paid for it, and then making a smash hit, and then not stopping there. It's him and other rappers, even as his career continued, paying other YouTube producers for their beats. And the YouTube producers getting the leasing and all that stuff, and they not charging no 20,000 for the beat. They not even charging 10,000 for the beat. And listen, I watched an interview with Illmind and Static Selector, and they talked about the price of beats and stuff like that. And they said the $20,000 to $50,000 days, those is over. Those is like, when we talk about a super producer like Metro Boomin, yeah, he probably could get top bank, but even then I've seen people like Southside and et cetera say that they do swaps. So they'll say like, yo, you could get this beat Future. You don't got to pay nothing, but when it's time for me to drop my project, I need them free verses. But Static Selector and Illmind, they said about like 10,000. Like 10,000. That was a price that they both agreed on camera, somewhere in that ballpark to where cats typically get paid when it's time for some industry work, some top tier industry work. Now, some of the older producers could be capping about making like 300,000 a beat or whatever the case may be up front. But listen, I was one of the people when people were saying, oh man, this shit is going to ruin the game. I was like, bruh, no, it's not. And I can't think back to my mind frame, right? I can't think back, 15 years to like, did I think at all that this was going to impact the entire game the way it has? I can't think back and think about that. The only thing I knew is, industry producers still doing their thing. And a lot of these dudes who are selling these beats online are not getting in the industry at the time that people were making these arguments. So it's like, we got two separate things going on. And to some degree, it is still two separate things because what happens when some of these producers, as far as these internet producers get really big, they transition. They transition from, the My Flash store, the BeatStars, to the industry to where it's like they doing a lot of work in the industry and sometimes they just take their site down and et cetera, or their site still be up, but they don't upload ever. And they just be making money off all their old work because they got 1,000 beats. So listen, I want to be clear. The feedback the people were giving was not hating because I can sit here as somebody who lived through it and might have even thought it was hating at the time that people were saying this when these internet producers didn't have real access to the industry and stuff like that. And I could say that it definitely has changed the game. I'm not really mad at the change of the game because I'm not even going to get into why. But the one thing I am going to say and stand on is that came from, as far as the opinions that it was going to change the game and this was a bad thing and et cetera, it comes from a scarcity mentality. It comes from a scarcity mentality. I don't think it comes from being afraid of competition too much, maybe just a pinch. And I don't think this comes from purity at all. But it does come from scarcity, and I'm going to tell you why. The thing about the internet is the internet and just technology revolutionizes a lot of industries, right? You can't talk your way or convince your way out of technological change. That is why when it comes to this AI shit, I know I made the video about Timberland. It's crazy. It's just not in me to say Timberland. Like I just say Timberland all the time, just automatically. But he is somebody with great power. And with great power comes great responsibility. He is somebody with the capability of providing opportunities. And there's also a bunch of other stuff with him that we're not going to get into today. But that is the issue with him signing an AI artist. But when we look at AI, just even outside of the scope of Timberland, when we talk about jobs and just everything else, the first thing is AI as a tool. So I'm not mad at anybody for using AI as a tool. It's another thing when you use it to replace a human or to replace employment of a human. And you are somebody in a position that can pay a livable wage or a hefty fee or whatever the case may be. But using AI as a tool to help you in the processes that you already do, I think that is fine. But the thing about AI as well is that we can't stop it. We can't stop it. It's going to keep moving forward. We're not going to be unified enough and vigilant enough, not just as U.S. people, because this is the thing, it's global. So it couldn't be just us, because the thing is, if we as a society just turned against AI as far as America, China is still going to be moving forward with their AI, and the AI is still going to make its way over to our capitalistic business owners, mainly corporations. So the thing that you have to do is adapt. Understand, you cannot stop this. It is coming. It is what it is. And adapt. And even when I look at rappers, I mentioned Fabulous. Fabulous is somebody who, when times change and when beats change and the swag changes and et cetera, he adapts. He's been adapting for close to 25 years. So when we look at the anti-beat leasing rhetoric, the best thing that you could have did was ride the wave, get in on it, et cetera, et cetera. And if you chose not to and continue to do what you were going to do, that's fine. But you have noticed the changes over the past 10 to 15 years. And the thing about that is nothing that you were going to say, nothing that you were going to campaign about, nothing that you were going to do was going to change the trajectory of the technological advancements and the waves of things that were happening. The movements were bigger than anybody, not just you, than all of it. Was bigger than everything. And the whole Martin Luther King, we all got to come together. That shit never works. That shit never works. If anything relies on a mass of people coming together, it's never going to work. But that's the first belief. Let's get to the second belief. I was going to elaborate on that MLK shit I just said, but if you don't get it, you don't get it. I don't give a fuck. So we're going to get on to the next one. The next narrative that I don't like is the producer versus beat maker. I don't like that shit at all. And that's some shit that purists and old niggas just really hold on to. They love having those conversations and they love gatekeeping who's a producer, who's not a producer, etc., fucking cetera, fucking cetera. Now I'm gonna just start here. The one thing I don't like is the fact that they say beat maker as if it's a condescending thing, like it's just, oh, you just a beat maker. You just a nigga, that's the craft that most of us niggas not only love, that we point to when we talk about good music. We talk about how good the instrumental is. If you ask anybody why they think Dr. Dre is a great producer or great whatever, they're going to mention the beats. The beats are abso-fucking-lutely the most important part. And you got these niggas who try to degrade other producers and just reduce them to, you're just a beat maker. You're just a beat maker. Nigga, the beat, like, if a nigga wasn't a good beat maker, do we really respect him as a producer? Do we really think he's a good producer? And this is the answer to that. Fucking no. Fucking no, because what we look at, if we look at the community, this same community, right? You look at Diddy and you look at DJ Khaled, they are both producers by definition, because what do? They see over all the aspects of the track. They say, put this here, do this, da 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 da. Oh, you singing too high. Stop doing that Jodeci shit. Da, da, da. You seen Diddy say that on Making a Band, which, you know, the Day 26. So that is producing, directing, and giving input on the track. That's factually what producing is, and that's what people try to lean on when they say, oh, you know, you just a beat maker. But when we look at the community, when we look at all the producer dialogue, the talk, and even when we look outside of just producers and we just look at the whole rest of the internet, people who don't even produce, I want you to keep that in mind. People that don't even have anything to do with music production, just casual fans. When you look at the community, everybody that I mentioned, they say DJ Khaled ain't shit and he's just a mascot or whatever, because he doesn't make the beats. He doesn't make the beats. They might come up with some other stuff like, oh, he's a curator or whatever, like, but they get on DJ Khaled for him not being able to make the beats. Because what is expected of a hip hop producer? You are expected to make dope beats. So the fact that people say, you're not a producer, you're a beat maker, and they say it in a condescending way, it is just bozo shit to me. I fucking hate that shit with all my heart. So you have the condescending nature of that. And then we also have, you know, the whole, oh, well, Diddy and Khaled, they don't make beats, so they not really, so you got that. The whole narrative, we're getting to the root of it. The whole narrative is the producing is you doing a Diddy and Khaled shit, except making the beat on top of that. So making a beat and then having input on what the artist does, right? Having input on what the artist does. And by definition, as far as what these guys say, if you hear the verse and everything, you don't talk to do, you alter some things around the verse as far as like some of the beat and stuff like that. In my opinion, that's producing, but some people just say, well, you know, you a beat maker. You didn't have any input on what the artist did. Okay. I just seen something before I made this video where somebody said on a post, if you are not in the studio with the artist, you are not a producer. This is old dinosaur ass nigga shit. These, bruh, I want you young niggas, any young niggas listening to this, or any up and coming, like, don't worry about anything that these old ass dinosaur ass niggas gotta say when it come to shit like this, because these niggas are gonna age out soon, bruh. They gonna be fucking fossils soon. I don't give a fuck. Because what did I mention in the last segment? I mentioned technological advancements. We now have the internet, right? We now have the internet. A lot of artists are getting beats from super producers like Metro Boomin, from super producers like Sunny Digital or whoever, and they're getting sent the beats. And I had to mention super producers because when you get to like, oh man, you know, you got a record where you got anywhere from 3 to like 7, 10 producers collaborating on one beat, and it gets to the artist, I could say some negative shit about that. I could say some thoughts about that. Should I give you one right now, just for the fuck of it? I don't want to be the guy that just adds the hi-hat line. I don't. I don't want to be the guy splitting, you know, the 50% of the publishing 18 ways. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be getting 13% of the 15. Like, I don't want to do that. But this is the thing. I don't knock it as far as other people doing it. Because you know what actually matters? Was the beat good? Did the artist like it? Did he use it? Did everybody get paid? And this is the most important thing. You could throw everything that I said out the window. Is the music good? Do a lot of people think the music is good? Period, point blank. That's when we get down to the bare bones of what this shit is. That's the only thing that really matters. And when you get outside of this whole space of just the producer shit, I need you to understand that's what matters most. Is that if people actually like the music, because you get with these producers and they be like, bro, the snares, it's too much. Oh, you using Reason? Oh man, man, you fucked up. No, you could never make good music with that. None of that matters. What matters is if the music is good and if people like the music. It doesn't matter how it gets made, especially when it's made by humans. Well, people will try and say those people aren't producers. And the fact that they just all coming together and they sending the beats over, you'll hear somebody say something like, oh yeah, they just a bunch of beat makers getting together. It's just beat makers, blah, blah, blah. But when I throw a name like Metro Boomin, and Metro Boomin is sending a beat over, and a guy is rapping on a beat, and this is a bunch of producers in the industry who send beats, who are very notable producers. I know he happens to be one of them. So when you see a super producer doing that, brother, that's how the game is going. It's how the game is fucking going. I don't even say brother. I don't know what made me say that. But it happens so often that is actually the standard as far as what's going on right now. Another thing, a lot of these artists don't want your input. See, the producers of the past were typically in a powerful position to where it's like, okay, I'm with a label. I'm a producer with a label. And I'm getting talent like New Edition or somebody, right? And they don't know nothing about this game, and I'm supposed to be the master, so I'm gonna mold everything that they do. They gotta adhere to what I say, And there's some people who still get in situations like that where they get signed to an artist or a label or a producer or whatever the case may be, and people have creative control over their music, right? So that's where a lot of that comes from, and you also have songwriters like a Smokey Robinson and stuff like that, and they doing all the work. They doing all the work to get the song where it need to be before the Temptations even come and step in and get on that motherfucker. I mean, if you look at songwriters like The Dream and Neo, like when they used to drop mixtapes, they would have things that they wrote. You can go and look this song up. Neo got a song called Love Migraine. You could tell that he was singing in a falsetto because this was supposed to go to a woman. So when you look at R&B and things like that, they got a whole different structure to where the songwriter is working with the producer and they are coming up with the track. However they come up with the track, and by the time it gets to the artist, they already have something crafted. Rap is not like that. Like you'll have times where somebody does pitch a track to an artist, but in most cases they are starting dry with no reference, no nothing, and they're going in doing their own shit. And they do not want your input. They do not care what you have to say. They have big egos. So this is the point that I'm gonna make. Let's take a Metro Boomin. Let's say that he sent Future a beat. Let's say Future rapped on the beat and Metro Boomin didn't. He just got the record and said, it's good. And they kept it moving, got to the next record. Let's just say that's the process that has happened with at least one Metro Boomin record. At least one. Or just even, we could replace the names with any industry couple as far as producer and artist that you want to fucking talk about. Let's just pretend it went that way. Because people have said, oh yeah, he sent me the beat, I got on it, it was a rap. Like you watch Genius, bro. This is how a lot of this shit works. A lot of it works like I sent the baby a beat and the baby got on it and it's a smash hit. So look at it. Boom. We got that. Sends the record, but he gets credited as the producer, right? It becomes a smash hit. He's doing all these behind the scenes, the producer stuff, and this is how it was made, and et cetera, et cetera. So the only people who are going to tell you that he didn't produce that record is these old gatekeepity fucks. That's the only people who are going to, well, he's just a beat maker. He didn't really produce it because he didn't have any input and he didn't get in the studio with the it's only going to be old, disconnected niggas who just don't like the trajectory of where this shit is going. and they want to have that sense of honor and what they used to do and how it was. Well, the thing is, it's not how it was. It's how it is right now. So to my young niggas, when you hear that bullshit, I've produced. I've been in the studio. So this is not coming from somebody who has not molded other artists, from somebody who has not been in the studio with other people. I have done that shit for a long time. So if you want to go by that definition of a producer, this is not coming from somebody who hasn't been that definition of a producer. But you know what I call that? I call that dick rubbery. It's people trying to give a higher validation to themselves while putting down other people. That's all it is. Because you don't hear people in country or any other genre say, well, he's just a beat maker. You don't hear anybody in any other genre doing that. Only hip hop do. Niggas get on these weird pedestals and say weird ass shit. But listen, let's just pretend that, okay, that's what producing is. Listen, to my young niggas listeners, don't pay attention to none of that shit. Don't think you got to appeal to any of these old niggas. Don't think you got to do X, Y, Z. Don't let that shit get to your mind, because this is the thing, man. You're going to get a credit as the producer. You're going to be listed as the producer of the track if you just send the beat or they just buy the beat and you don't say shit. You're still going to be listed as the producer. So publicly, everybody who sees the track or reads the credits is going to look at you as the producer. Even when these old fuckity fucks who have no idea how the track was made look at the track or hear the track, they're going to say, who produced this? Oh, the guy who just sent the beat and didn't have any input on this shit. Guess what the fans are going to do? They're going to look at you as the producer. Hey, guess what other artists are going to do? They're going to look at you as the producer. Guess what Genius or other platforms that have these interviews are going to look at you as? They're going to look at you as the producer. Wait a minute. What about all these platforms in the community to sit down and talk to, people and do interviews? They're going to look at you as a producer. And do you know why they're going to look at you as a producer? Because you made the fucking beat. They don't know what you did in the studio, in the track process. They don't know. They don't know. The only way they will know is if you tell them. At the end of the day, you're a producer. Like, don't fuck it. Like, these, oh man, these are beat makers. Like, these is just old hating ass niggas, bro. These niggas will sit on podcasts, sit in front of fucking, cameras, get high level interviews and all that shit. They'll say that shit, but they never put a fucking name on it. Not once has a fucking name been put on that address. They've never put the fucking name on the mail, stamped it and shipped it. That not once. So never, ever, if you a young nigga, worry about that fucking narrative. Who gives a fuck? Get your money, make your beats, talk to these artists, get your shit to the artists, produce, and that's it. Don't worry. Like, that's how come when I see this shit come up, all that shit is a group masturbation session, bro. I don't give a fuck about what niggas think about that shit, because I know what it is. I know what it is. And if you don't get it, and listen, you could get in the comments and be as mad as you want to be. You could be as mad as you want to be. But the point is, everything that I fucking said is true. You don't know how the track was made. And when you see who produced it, you're going to, oh, that's the producer. That's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. So it is what it is. I'm not elaborating no more, man. Listen, this video long as fuck. I couldn't even get to all my opinions because I'm a long-winded dude. So I'll probably do another video to get to like the next, like last two opinions that I may have and stuff like that. Let me know what you think of this, man. I'll be back with more videos soon. I'm out.